Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for this Black Lives of UU Town Hall. I am here with Kenny Wiley. Say hi to the people, Kenny.
What's up, y'all?
And we are coming to you live from Brooklyn, New York, where we both happen to be this week, so it worked out really great. So we're in the same room. And we also have Carlton Smith, who I think is on a train, but Carlton, if you want to say a quick hello to the people. I think you're muted.
Hi, everyone. Good to be with you all, and thank you all for being on this important call.
Awesome, thanks. And then we have Lena. Lena, you're home in Minneapolis right now?
Yes. Hey, hello.
Great. So again, thanks for joining us. We decided to put this quick, or not quick, but this little town hall together as we've been getting a lot of questions from tons of different people just asking us about the work that Black Lives of UU has been doing, and to talk a little bit about why we've all decided to come together and do this work, and give some larger context for our involvement at GA this year, which will be really fun. So let me share my screen and kind of just walk through a quick agenda with everybody so you know what to expect. So we're going to talk about our work that we're going to be doing at GA, and Carlton's going to take a bit of that, and then we're going to talk about the full track, the 4 sessions that we're going to be doing. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the mission and vision of Black Lives of UU. And then the 4 of us will have a little bit more open discussion about what brought us to do this work and where we see ourselves fitting into different things. So I think we're going to start. I'm going to actually turn it over to Carlton for a moment, and he wanted to kind of give a quick breakdown about all of the spaces that we look to invite Black UUs to, and creating a different feel for Black UUs. So Carlton, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Leslie. I really appreciate everyone being on the call again. I'm Carlton Elliott Smith, an ordained Unitarian Universalist minister. I apologize for all the hubbub in the background. I'm on a train in Atlanta on my way up to Washington, D.C. Eventually going to end up in Philadelphia for the annual gathering of UU professionals of color called Finding Our Way Home. So that's where I'm en route to, and the train just pulled off, so hopefully my connection will hold throughout. Looking at the slides here, I wanted to talk a bit about Blackness at GA 2016. And for some of the things that you can anticipate that are going to be different about from our typical GAs, and some of the special features of Blackness at General Assembly 2016. So we're going to have 4 workshops in the Black Lives track, including 1 double slot. That's going to be on Saturday evening. That's going to be the one that's about our continuing work as Unitarian Universalists. Another distinguishing characteristic is that the Black Lives track is going to focus on the experience and voices of Black Unitarian Universalists. as a priority. Now, that's a bit different from most of our GAs, as some of you who may have attended them before might know. Usually, Black voices are at the margins of conversations rather than at the center, so that we're going to have a primary focus in the sessions that we hold be around Black voices and Black experiences is a different characteristic. So that's to say that similar to what happens in Black Lives Matter spaces, for Black Lives of UU spaces, we're going to prioritize the voices and experiences of Black people. So if, for example, there is a Black person or a person of color who wants to speak, we're going to hear from them before we hear from our white allies at the sessions we're doing at General Assembly. Sure, step across. Oh, okay, that's fine. I'll just go to the window. Thanks. Perfect. You're welcome. No problem. That's all good. Let me move this over to you.
You want to put it up there?
No, it's fine. Thank you. All right. There's going to be programs featuring Alicia Garza, who's one of the 3 co-founders of Black Lives Matter, along with Reverend William Barber, who some of you might know from his work in North Carolina with the NAACP and the Forward Together movement. Closing worship at General Assembly. For those of you who were at General Assembly last year, you might recall that there was a huge Black Lives Matter action, a die-in out in front of the Portland Convention Center, and this year, and almost a takeover of the closing worship at General Assembly. And this year, Black Lives Matter is going to be in the house for the closing worship service, which Leslie, who's leading our call this evening, is going to be part of, as well as Alandria Williams, Unitarian Universalist, coming out of Tennessee Valley UU Church, and also employed with the Highlander Center, which is where Rosa Parks did her preparation for her action with regards to the Montgomery bus boycott. The road to 300, we're aiming to have 300 Black Unitarian Universalists in Columbus, and so that's something that we'll be talking about as we get deeper into the call. And our commitment to supporting people as they're coming to General Assembly either for the first time or perhaps returning as Black people to General Assembly after having been gone for quite some time. One of the goals and the commitments that we have is to emotional emancipation and healing circles for Black Unitarian Universalists. The goal is actually to have Erica Totten, who specializes in these emotional healing circles, come and be part of our group. We're still, working out some of the details around that, and hoping we can get that all finalized. And if not, we're certainly going to lay the foundation for that to happen a little further down the line. There's going to be healing and ritual spaces for Black people all GA long. So we got a designated space that's going to be available for Black people to come together, to take retreat, to have healing rituals, to have a space where people can come together and be in community with each other all throughout GA, and a place where people can come and know that there's going to be some pastoral presence so they can meet someone there and get some of their pastoral needs met in that setting. The public witness this year is going to be Thursday evening, and I'm on the group that's helping organize that. It's going to have a Black Lives focus. It will be at the state capitol. There are also some local Black Lives Matter activists who are going to be part of that gathering as well, and it's being done with the interfaith, our interfaith commitment in mind. And then we're looking to also have a Black Lives Community Arts project that's going to be stationed or based out of the Black Lives Drum Diverse Revolutionary UU Multicultural Ministries booth in the exhibit hall. So those are some of the key aspects of Blackness at the General Assembly of 2016 in Columbus, Ohio. Next slide, please.
Oh, I was going to say, there was...
Thank you. So I wanted to get a little bit more specific about the program overview for the Black Lives track, and some of the distinctive features about those 4 workshops that we've been talking about for some months now. I should say a little bit about how it came about. I received a call from the folks with the program development group for General Assembly, which I've served on maybe a few years back when we had our big immigration advocacy focus. And the desire was to do a track that would reflect Black Lives Matter as an emerging movement, for people to have some understanding of what's happening with Black Lives of Unitarian Universalists. So we were very excited to have the opportunity to bring some of the things that we had discussed amongst ourselves to our General Assembly. But we thought we'd want to do it with some things that would be different. So one of the first, these aren't in any particular order, but one of the features of the Black Lives track is going to be that Blackness is going to be at the center of the work that we're doing. That's in keeping with what happens inside of Black Lives Matter circles generally. Again, prioritizing Black experiences and Black voices. That means that, again, that, you know, in some cases it can be the case that, you know, white allies or people who are white who are not particularly conscious of their privilege in our Unitarian Universalist settings might tend to take over a conversation or take up a lot of airspace, and we're really going to be intentional about stating our commitment up front to prioritizing and hearing from Black voices and other people of color first. We are looking forward to welcoming new Black UUs to GA who might not have attended before, and inviting those who have had negative experiences inside of General Assembly back, or within UUism in general, within their own congregations, back into our Unitarian Universalist circle again, but coming from a different angle, this time rather than being at the margins, being at the center of conversations. The track will be cumulative in nature. That means that we're going to start out talking about what happened at the Movement for Black Lives convening last summer in Cleveland, which was really phenomenal, and where the seeds of all of this got planted. That'll be followed by a bit of an introduction of UU history in Black Lives context. Then talking about anti-Blackness in global perspective and what that means inside of our association, and then ending with, you know, looking at our ongoing work as Unitarian Universalists as we prepare to return back to our specific context. Another distinctive feature that for two of the program slots, the anti-Blackness slot and our continuing work slot, we're going to be breaking into three distinct groups. One is going to be an explicitly Black spaces, again mirroring our experience at the Movement for Black Lives convening last summer. There'll be a space for non-Black people of color as well as for our white allies, because there are some conversations that Black UUs need to have amongst themselves. There are some conversations that other UUs of color need to have amongst themselves relative to anti-Blackness and what their continuing work is. And we also know that our allies are going to use separate spaces. And so trying to protect the integrity of that, but also providing opportunities for us to all come together. So that is something that I don't know of ever happening in our association at General Assembly before either. These workshops and programs are going to be primarily led by Black Lives UU Organizing Collective, which is the five of us on this call. There will be, our Black leaders will be compensated for their work. We know that there is economic disparity between Black Unitarian Universalists, or Black people in general in our culture, and Black Unitarian Universalists are no exception. So with the commitment to making it more accessible and more equitable to people who are Black people who work for a living and who even do this work professionally, we're looking to have a serious commitment to compensating people for their work. We are going to be creating spaces for emerging voices while affirming contributions of ancestors and elders who have gone before us. So we're looking to hear some voices that we might not have heard before and welcome those into the circle as well, without leaving anyone behind, which is another one of our principles, our guiding principles inside of the Black Lives movement. Next slide. There will be increased pastoral care that's going to be present for our Black Unitarian Universalists, non-Black people of color, as well as white allies. We can imagine that some of the material is going to be very provocative. People are going to be having new insights that they've never had before, and so we want to make provisions for people to have places to go, people to talk to when issues come up. Hopefully as we support the well-being of our Black Unitarian Universalists and other folks who are at General Assembly as well. We are going to be acknowledging and being candid about where our UUA and its congregations have missed the mark with regards to caring for Black people inside of Unitarian Universalism. It's not necessarily coming from a judgmental or condemning standpoint, but really trying to tell the whole truth about our experience and not step over that, because the way to heal is to begin by acknowledging the pain, and there certainly is a lot of pain. This General Assembly is, it stands on its own 2 feet, of course, but it's also something that is a prelude for our General Assembly in New Orleans in 2017, where again we're going to have a focus on racial justice and community outreach, and paying special attention to Black lives in the context of New Orleans, which we know is quite a not just a symbolic representation of racial relations inside of our country, but is much more than that as well. And we're going to be guided by the 7 principles of Black Lives of UU, which we shared back in the fall, and that was a combination of the guiding principles of the movement for Black Lives, as well as our own Unitarian Universalist principles. We're going to continue to, and we've already started challenging the existing process and system in the creation of this track. We've got our going to DC. Thank you. We're going to be challenging the existing systems in the process of the creation of this General Assembly. I apologize for all the noise in the background. I'll try to talk over it. Sorry. So we're going to be challenging the existing systems in the process of creating this General Assembly, and that's already started. I know that our General Assembly has been going on for the past more than 50 years, and we're actually bumping into some of the traditions of General Assemblies and the ways of being in preparation for General Assembly, and that has been a learning process in itself, but we're committed to bringing forth something new and different, and so we're holding on to that.
Hey, Congressman, I'm just jumping in, and I'll if you want to mute, I'll just take over while all that noise is going on, and we'll come back to you shortly.
Okay, I think it's done.
Oh, is it done? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry about that. Do I need to go back over that last point? I'm sorry. So I was just saying.
You're fine. Just keep going. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And we are developing companion curricula for GA attendees to take with them to be able to download so that they can replicate what they've learned within their own congregations, what we're going to be sharing at GA in the Black Lives track. So those are some of the distinctive features of the track that we're presenting, those 4 workshops. Next slide.
I think that's it for you for this second.
Is that it? Okay, great.
We'll come back to you in a second. I did want to mention that folks can submit questions to us via Twitter. You can just go to @BlackLivesUU and shoot any questions that you might have out to us anytime during the town hall tonight. So I'm going to start and just talk. We're going to actually break down a little bit more and have each of us talk a little bit about the specific sessions that we're going to have at GA. And I'm going to start, and this is Leslie, talking about the Movement for Black Lives convening an Explicitly Black Spaces session, which will be the first session that we'll be doing at GA this year. You can read the specific description, but really what we're looking to do is bring together the Black UUs that attended the convening and some of us that also were involved in the planning and execution of the event itself, to talk about our experiences there, talk about what it meant for us to be able to go there and what impact it had on us and our work within the faith. So those are the things that we'll be talking about in that particular session. I'm going to stop my screen share. You can see me and Kenny again. Hey. So we're going to have a great panel. We're going to talk a lot about the specifics of the convening itself and why we each went, what we got out of it, and then the larger context of what explicitly Black spaces mean to Black people and also to the larger community that we are a part of. So what do we bring from those explicitly Black spaces into a larger community with other people? whether it's white allies or non-Black people of color. And so that's what the panel will focus on. And as Carlton mentioned, our goal will be to lift up the voices and the experiences of all those that attended the convening and were a part of it. We're really excited to share all of that stuff with everybody that's going to be there, as I know a lot of people have lots of questions. And there was a lot of UUA and also congregational support to getting UUs, Black UUs, to the convening itself. So we're really excited to do that. The next session, share the screen again here, Kenny, for you.
Yeah, just for a minute.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so hey y'all, it's Kenny Wiley, and I'm going to be kind of taking lead on the UU history, Black UU history section. And what that workshop's going to be is less a recitation of facts. You know, we'll draw on Mark Morrison Reed's work and draw on, talk about people like Frances Ellen Watkins Harper and other folks. But, a lot of what it's going to be is the history of Black Unitarians and Universalists is, it's a lot of painful history. And there's also some beautiful history, some history of struggle that we want to lift up. And we're hoping to build a presentation that really makes the facts and the quotes and the details come alive for us in the room. And so, because we feel as though, we're doing a lot of the five of us in the collective, we're helping lead a lot of really, hopefully, transformational work, but we're also resting on the shoulders of a lot of Black UUs, famous and not, well-known and not, clergy and not, who have sort of pointed the way. And so we're hoping to help those stories and those people to come alive. And so I'm really pumped about the history section. I'm glad that the team was excited to let me take lead on that one, so I'm pumped.
Very excited, and I think for me the thing I'm really excited about is that it's not about large names, but really about the individual stories of Black UUs and their experiences within our faith. So I'm really excited for that. I should mention that those first two sessions are open to anyone, so we want everyone to come to those and be there to experience them. I'm going to turn over to Lena so we can talk about the next session.
Hey. So the session is on anti-Blackness, an introduction to anti-Blackness. Some of the things we're going to cover in this session are going to be just defining what that is and what that means. I think that is a little bit of a new term for folks, or it can be. Giving examples of it, highlighting that it happens all over the globe, not just in the U.S. We're really going to talk about how it pertains to other groups as well, as far as like light-skinned European ancestors versus more darker-skinned folks. And then we're going to bring it home and kind of zoom it back in and talk about how UUism and UUs have benefited from this idea of anti-Blackness, and not just the idea, but its existence. And we're going to talk about, what that has meant in different policy levels. And this session, we are going to break out into, identity-based groups so that folks have different spaces to be able to process and talk without, causing hurt or harm to other folks. And within that, we also did talk about having a pastoral care component of that. I think especially for those of us with darker skin tones, it can be really bring up a lot of pain for people. So yeah.
Thanks so much for that, Lena. And so as Lena mentioned, that this will be one of the two sessions that will be breaking up into some different group work, which is really exciting. And we have some non-Black people of color and some great white allies that are going to be working with us to lead those different groups. And we're really excited about that. We're going to swing back to Carlton to discuss the final session, which is expanded and is in two parts and really exciting stuff. So Carlton, you got it.
Thanks, Leslie. Yes, we are focusing in the last session on our ongoing work, which sometimes might be thought of next steps. Having had this experience together, how are we going to share this information and this experience of Black Lives with UU in other contexts when folks get back to their local congregations, their local places of work, how to do that, and to really think about like what we want to do going forward as Unitarian Universalists at General Assembly. It's an opportunity for us to do that separately. This is the other program slot that is going to, where we're going to break into separate groups for that conversation of folks, other people of color, and the white allies, and then come back together for a broader conversation. And again, we've got some wonderful people of color who are not black, as well as white allies who are going to be helping lead those separate conversations so that we can continue to work together and help bring about the vision and future that we hope for our association.
Thanks so much, Carlton. That's great. So that's a good overview of all 4 of the sessions that we're going to be hosting at GA. And as Carlton mentioned, we do expect it to be a bit of a journey. The first session giving everyone some context to why we've all come together and what led to Black Lives of UU being a thing, generally speaking. And then the second session really giving some context for the work that has come before us, because as Kenny said, you know, we are not doing this work in a vacuum, and plenty of Black UUs have been fighting the good fight and really working to make things better for us within our faith and in the larger context of society. And then the last 2 pieces are really meant to drive home what is at the core of the work that we do, which is ending anti-Blackness and oppression of Black and brown people within our faith and outside of it. And then lastly, of course, bringing it home so that we can continue this work after GA is over. We're really excited to share all of those sessions with everybody. Carlton, do you want to talk a little bit about, well, I guess we can all talk about this a little bit, about our goals of trying to get as many Black folks to GA as possible. Maybe we can just start, and Lena, do you want to say maybe a couple words about some things that are obstacles for Black folks or may have been issues of getting people to GA, and kind of the context of that and the work that we're doing around that would be great.
Sure. So I think some of the obstacles include, you know, having to take off so much time from work, you know, paying for transportation and housing, and then like the $400 registration cost. And so I know, you know, for me historically that has been true, and it's true for a lot of other Black folks. And beyond that, then there is also, when you do go to your first GA, you're surrounded in a sea of white people, and things happen like, can I touch your hair, and, you know, things that just are hard and stressful to deal with. So that is definitely a barrier as well. So I think, you know, this is a twofold approach of, one, we are actively trying to fundraise and seeking out ways to help support people financially, to cover their registration costs, to be able to help support housing and transportation, and then also to provide spaces for connection and, you know, healing when we're there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Lena. Carlton, if you could say a few words about kind of where we see individual congregations fitting into this road to 300 and really getting as many Black UUs to GA as possible to take part in the content that we're putting together.
Happily, Leslie, thank you. So what we realize is that we are a congregationally based movement. So it is the congregations that we look to for support and to actually fulfill on our purposes, whether they pertain to Black lives or not. So what we are imagining is that congregations would, who are affirming Black Lives Matter, especially those who have put banners in front of their buildings and have taken a very, and ministers who've spoken out have taken a very public and courageous stand for Black lives, we would hope and anticipate that they would see the opportunity for the Black folks inside of their congregations to be able to send them to this General Assembly, which is going to be one that's unlike any other that we've had before. So we're trusting that that Black people will be considered as potential delegates for General Assembly, hopefully in new numbers. And even for those who might not be in a place where it works for them to be delegates, that the congregations will nonetheless see the value and the opportunity in this Black Lives track and this emphasis on Black lives throughout General Assembly, that they would support members in being able to attend. And if there are congregations who do not have any black members in them, and I think we've got several of those inside of our Unitarian Universalist Association. We would encourage you, if in the spirit of solidarity, to contribute to the funds that the fund that we're creating. That is going to be a resource to help congregations that do have black members, and even folks in your larger communities who might be black allies and might be aligned with our Unitarian Universalist values. What would that be like to have them come to this General Assembly? That would be very powerful also. I'm just thinking that Rob Eller Isaacs and Jan Eller Isaacs' congregation there in St. Paul had several folks from the larger community who joined them for the March, the Selma commemoration last year, the 50th anniversary. It's very powerful. So we're hoping for that same kind of solidarity and support coming from congregations with regards to the Black Lives Track at General Assembly this year.
I was one of those people from Unity, by the way.
There you go. Right on. Yeah, that's where we first met, actually.
Yep.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I just wanted to jump in. So, so I work for UU World magazine as a senior editor, and yesterday we got a submission from a black woman who is a UU in Boca Raton who submitted this incredible poem, and basically how she feels like she's out there all alone, and she sends this message to UU World, not knowing that I run the submissions page, and so like this poem of just like, I'm in this, you know, sea of whiteness, and that's not what it's called or anything, but like that was the message. And you know, I sent her this email like, yo, we're out here, and she just sends me a message back like 30 minutes later like, oh my gosh, I had no idea, I thought that was one of 12. And so I just like I relay that story because, you know, it can be easy sometimes to like focus on the higher level stuff, but like black UUs feeling connected, like, you know, I feel connected to this group of organizers. And so helping black folks, you know, whether it's, you know, there's 2 black people in a congregation or 20, like helping them be connected to what we're doing is absolutely vital, because just, you know, it changed her week, this woman in Florida, like to know that there's a national network of black UUs like trying to do the work that she's doing in her congregation in Florida. So.
And I think for us, as we started planning, like GA generally speaking, and wanting to do this work generally, one of the great things about being involved in planning the convening this summer was the approach that the planning team really took in just deciding how we were going to do the work. And one of the things was we sat down and talked about who it was important to have at the table. Who did we want to make sure were there? And so we talked about undocumented people, we talked about parents, we talked about single parents, we talked about low-income individuals, we talked about students and young people. And so once we had this idea of all these wonderful types of black folks that we wanted to make sure were going to be there, we then set about our planning to ensure that we removed barriers to ensure that those people were going to be able to be there. So in some cases that meant we had to make sure we had daycare every day during the convening so that parents could come and they could really you know, participate fully. And then on the other hand, it might have meant that we decided to make sure that food was provided every day. We wanted to make sure that we provided also that they provided what was I saying? Daycare was one. Oh, transportation, and then we also just did a sliding scale for people to come and said, how much can you afford to pay? And then we made sure that people were able to get there. We really wanted to ensure that cost wasn't an issue, and obviously that's not going to be an option for every event, but it just talks about kind of the place that we're coming from in terms of wanting more and more black folks to be at GA and why. So Carlton, I know we're going to turn it back over to you real quick to talk about the mission that we have as part of the collective here, and I'm going to share my screen one more time and turn it over to you to talk about that.
Okay, let's pull this up so I can see it as well. Yes, this is what we are working with in terms of Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism. The Black Lives of UU is a grassroots platform created by Black Unitarian Universalists to encourage, inspire, engage, and motivate Black people in their pursuit of liberation from systematic oppression in general and white supremacy in particular. It congregates and organizes locally, regionally, and nationally/virtually. So I think this pretty much encompasses like what we are up to as a movement inside of our Unitarian Universalist Association. And as some of you who've been following us on Facebook know that we have, or might be aware that we have the Black Lives of UU general page, which is open to Black people, other people of color, allies, white allies. And then there's also a page or a separate group, just Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism, an explicitly Black group, which is focused on particularly the needs of Black Unitarian Universalists to talk amongst ourselves, the people who are most in the impact of white supremacy inside of the United States as well as inside of our larger association. So this is a working document that we're working on. I guess I should also we should also take a moment to look at the vision statement that we're working with at the moment. Do we have that? Yes. Our vision, affirming our individual and collective worth and dignity with such bold consistency that each Black person in our Unitarian Universalist Association is equipped for and supported in the struggle for self-determination until victory is won. So inside of that vision, you hear echoes of our Unitarian Universalist principles, of the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, and really looking at what it's going to take to help us all survive and thrive. And the goal isn't just our survival, but our commitment is to thriving and to being our best selves and our most fully realized selves. And to do that is going to require that we overcome and are in a constant struggle, that we're constantly overcoming those things that would limit our possibilities and our potential.
Kenny's going to talk a little bit about the history piece here.
Well, so I see that my friend Jesse Hennessy just sent in a question on Twitter. So, hey, Jesse, if you are still there, a fellow Denverite. And so Jesse's question was, will there be a way for those of us who can't be at GA to bring the curriculum to our congregations? And I can say that without doubt, the history piece, and I imagine a lot of what we talk about in terms of anti-Blackness, for one thing, you know, Twitter is big for us, and so, you know, we'll be asking folks to tweet what they're hearing and tweet what people are saying. But definitely, I plan to, because you know, as we work together to break down, you know, what Mark Morrison Reed has said about Black Unitarians and Universalists, you know, kind of going back into the 19th century, and then definitely, you know, take some of the stuff from the 1960s and, you know, really make it digestible. And so, encouraging folks to engage not just on that day at GA, but going into the next year and the next several years. And they're, you know, I'm also a religious educator, so certainly we're hoping to build things that go far beyond Columbus in 2016, certainly on the history front, and I know, you know, for the rest of it as well.
Awesome. So we're going to open up and do our general discussion now about our work and talk. I had some open questions for all of us to kind of give our thoughts about. So the first one is, and I think Carlton walked through a little bit of this, was how we got started in the first place, but I'll give a little context to that. So at the convening this summer, all the UUs that were present met a couple of different times over meals and various you know, incarnations. We had a lunch, a dinner, and a breakfast, I believe, over the 3 days that we just kind of got together to talk about our experiences and what was going on.
So awesome. Sorry, just had to say that.
It really was amazing. It was so great and just an opportunity I don't think any of us had ever had before, and so it was really powerful. And we had this idea to continue doing that same work and continuing to connect with each other as Black UUs moving forward. And so from that seed, we kind of started having some conference calls and some Zoom meetings and just kind of talking about things. And all of us have always felt really strongly that our 7 principles call us to continue to do this work for Black liberation. And so that's where the 7 principles of Black lives came from, was us melding our work in social justice and our commitment to that with our faith and our belief in the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism. So Out of that, lots of brilliant, smart people that are all here on the call right now, and also Alandria Williams. We just started talking about what we could do, and you guys have seen the fruits of that labor, whether it was statements that we had that came out. We have held explicitly black spaces after some trying times that happened, and then obviously the VUU appearances. We've been going on that every month, and then obviously all this work leading up to GA this year and this town hall as well. So that just gives a little context for that. So I'll ask the open question to everybody is, what role do you see Black Lives of UU playing in the UU faith? And whoever wants to start can start.
Woo!
Woo!
Okay. Yeah, so for me, and I'll just speak very personally, growing up feeling like there were, even just watching my parents, so I grew up Unitarian Universalist, and feeling like, okay, there's spaces where you can be UU, and then there's spaces where you get to be black. And, for me, a lot of this is about, the work, police, accountability, and all these things that really matter to me. And then there's also the personal aspect of to be black and UU at the same time, right? Like, so Leslie and I went to eat dinner, and we're just like two black folks eating in Brooklyn, right? And we're two black UUs. We're not wearing signs that say that, but just to have space virtually and locally to be fully black and be a fully proud Unitarian Universalist is huge for me. And encouraging, for me, it's also about helping folks all over the country see that they can also do that. So that's a big thing why I'm in this collective and in this work.
Anybody else?
Lena,
come on, Lena.
I was just trying to find the words. That's a really big question. But I think one of the things that struck me the other day, I was going over some of the visioning and messaging for Black Lives Matter Minneapolis, and we talked about really our big vision is birthing something that's never been before, right? Which is full human and civil rights for Black people in this country, right? And I really feel like that is part of how I see blue functioning in Unitarian Universalism. I think there are some really big, like I've said it before, we have our theology, and then we have, practice of our culture in UU churches, and that the gap is not this big, right? It's outside of this. It's very, very big. And so I really see us as blue as pulling that together and really trying to weave that and close that gap. I don't know that that's ever really gonna happen, but I know that I just want to keep pulling, and I keep pulling. So I think actually my minister at First Universalist, Justin Schroeder, preached about some of the work that we're doing at our church, and he likened it to he was on vacation and he was driving down the road, and he went to make a lane change without really fully looking over, and there was somebody in the blind spot who just laid on the horn and was "Wah!" And then he was oh, sorry, whatever, but then still kept honking, and he was in theory I should be really grateful because that person just saved the life of my family, and we didn't get in a crash, but they're on this horn. And I was yes, I feel I'm kind of like the horn right now. I'm the person laying on the horn at Unitarian Universalism. What are you doing? And so some people are really upset about it, and other people are get off the horn. And I'm no. So there you go. We're kind of like the horn.
I love both of those analogies. They're
That's
fantastic,
so good.
per usual.
That's so good.
Carlton, were you going to say something?
Yes. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say that I am just very excited about the possibilities of Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism and what it can mean for our movement, for our association. I think, as you know, I work for the southern region of our association, and I have a chance to go to many congregations and many events, and I'm always meeting Black Unitarian Universalists who, again, are in isolation in their congregations. They might be the only Black Unitarian Universalists for miles and miles around. So there's just so much work that can be done to empower and support Black Unitarian Universalists, and I'm really excited about what that can mean as we create more Black spaces and we bring Blackness more to the center, bring Blackness to the center of our association. And I'm very thankful for the allies that we have within the association, within the within the UUA, within the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Associations, religious educators, so many people, and other related organizations, the Allies for Racial Equity, so that we can shift the direction of our association. And I just keep imagining, like, what would our association look like if it were centered in Blackness? You know, what would it look like? It would be as radical as having an all-female Supreme Court, right? I mean, it would just be mind-blowing. And then if we can model it inside of our association, then some people can say, when it's like, well, it could never happen on a national level. It's like, well, what if it could? And what kind of support can we as an association provide to the amazing work that Lena and the folks are doing, other folks are doing in Minneapolis and in Ferguson and all over the country as these situations arise to continue to change the course and the shape of our country? I think it's immense. So I'm thrilled to be part of this conversation and this work with you all.
And I just wanted to add to that another thing that I think this does is, you know, I feel like I hear Black Unitarian Universalists like apologizing for something. It's like you grow up as I grew up feeling like I needed to apologize for being Black somehow, and like I did something and I didn't know what it was that I did, and realizing like I have nothing to apologize for. So being Black without apology, I think, is another huge part of this. I just want to throw that in there.
No, that's huge. That's huge. I think for me, like I'll say just from personal experience, like I left my previous congregation because it was a really uncomfortable situation and some things that happened and things were said that made me not feel welcome there. And I've spoken to so many other Black UUs who had similar experiences. I've referred to it as a mass exodus, but you know that's how it feels to me. And so for me, this work is really about challenging the circumstances that have led to this mass exodus and providing some context for Black people who connect with our faith and believe in our principles to continue to be supported and have the healing that they deserve from the religion that they choose to worship with and the people that they choose to worship with. So for me, that's been the really big kind of driving force. I also will just say, like, to be 100, as they say, that I have said to everybody here on this call that I think we've started a journey, and I don't know what the end of that journey is. It may not be the UUA, but I know that we will do our part and do the best that we can to make our voices known and to center those most affected and to ensure that Black UUs are heard as much as they can be. So that's what kind of centers things for me. So what is the best thing about being a part of the Black Lives of UU organizing collective? And anybody can start too.
Can I jump off with that? Because I was just thinking, the half hasn't been told about the commitment and dedication of the women who are part of the Black Lives of UU organizing collective. I'm talking about Leslie McFadden. I'm talking about Lena K. Gardner. I'm talking about Olandria C. Williams. It's like what these women have done is just phenomenal. I mean, the work that Lena's done in Minneapolis, the half has not been told, you know, about the difference that she's made. So much so that one of the major demands of the shutdown of the 4th Police Precinct in Minneapolis has actually got met within the past week or so, and that was that there would be no grand juries involved in cases where where the police have killed somebody. That is so huge. It almost brings tears to my eyes right now, just to even think about it. Leslie did an amazing job of organizing the volunteers at the Black Lives convening last summer. It was phenomenal. Olandria was on the safety team, and she negotiated to get a Black youth released to his mother's custody rather than into police custody. And it was a collective effort of all of the people who were gathered right after the closing ceremony of that event. So it's phenomenal what this group has done. Of course, Kenny's done some amazing work writing about our history for the UU world. So I'd say that just having a chance to be in the midst of all of this greatness and all this Black excellence. Can we say Black excellence? It's just wonderful. What an honor and privilege. I love you guys. I really do.
Oh, I'm feeling that right here. I think for me, like the best thing about it is that we are all so different from one another. Like we literally could not be more different in terms of like our personalities and also just what we do in the world, generally speaking. And so it's amazing when we come together and we are talking about an issue or something that we want to, a statement we want to put out or something we want to speak to. It's all of these amazing, like varied Black opinions and thoughts, and it's been just really nourishing to have that space and to have a reason to continually get together and talk about the issues in our faith and in the larger world and what that means to us. And I think that we have somehow put a team together that manages to push and pull each other in like just the right ways, you know. Sometimes I'll get a little radical and get a little crazy and want to do some crazy stuff, and Carlton will be like, hold on, wait. let's
hold on just a second.
Let's wait 1 minute. Let's dissect that a little bit more before we go there. But it's needed because honestly, I would just be going crazy out here. So for me, that's been really great and wonderful, and it's really helped my organizing outside of Black Lives of UU because I do work with lots of other organizers. So for me, it's been really rewarding.
Okay, and on the flip side, there are times when I'm like, oh, we can't do it now. We can't do it now. Y'all, we're not ready. It's not ready. And Leslie's like, we got to do it now. It's a great dynamic. I mean, because we're better together, I think, as a team than what we'd be individually if everybody had the same perspective and thought the same way. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything's already been said. I really do feel like, you know, being a part of this group, being a part of, you know, growing together and pushing each other and sorting through all of the things, it's just, yeah, it's hard to put into words. And of course, like both y'all coming out during the precinct here in Minneapolis and playing like support roles in that, Leslie and Carlton, when you came, it was just huge and, you know, beyond words in a lot of ways. So I love you all. I really do.
You good, Kenny?
I mean, yeah, y'all got it. Y'all got it. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
So I would like to do a small question just asking about how we want to start involving other Black UUs besides those of us that have been involved at this base level of organizing moving forward and what that could or can look like. And whoever wants to kind of talk about that a little bit would be great.
Yeah, I certainly have been thinking about this a lot, especially as I talk to more and more folks around the country who, you know, it's kind of like one thing that was a concern of mine when we started was, is this going to be seen as we are speaking for, because that's often what Black folks are in UU and are asked to be, you know, like, what do Black folks think, you know, Lisa in such and such place, right? Like, and it's absurd. And I think my hope is that as folks connect with us and as we connect with people, you know, Carlton, Lena, and I will all be at Finding Our Way Home, the UU Religious Professionals of Color gathering that was mentioned earlier. And, you know, a lot of what I'm going into that space hoping to do is connect with the Black folks there and to see the Black folks in their congregations who aren't religious professionals. You know, and as we get to know each other better, we keep hearing better and better ideas. And so, to me, you know, I don't have specific, like, you know, do this and then you'll be on this, and I don't have exactly the plans, but I just feel like it often starts with connection, and that when you share ideas, great things happen. So, and really, I think the other big way is folks sharing their experiences. You know, if you got a poem, put it online. We'll share it. You know, if you got a part of a sermon that you think was really meaningful about this stuff, share that so we can amplify. I think that's another huge way is getting Black voices out there. So it's not just the same like rotation of a few people. You know, we hear a lot of Black UU voices. That would be another great way.
Well, that would be great. Lena or Carlton?
Sure. Thinking about, as Kenny was saying, about our ability and capacity to support things that are already going on. I ran into Deborah Greenwood, whom I hope is on the town hall call this evening, when I was at a Chris Crass workshop on supporting Black Lives Matter that happened at Chattanooga a couple of weeks back. And she was instrumental in drafting a congregational study item for it's the case that both Leslie and I had a chance to talk with Deborah about that, about what her vision is, what her hope is for that. So we're going to be involved in those conversations too. So I'm thinking, like, if there are places where people need support around things that they're working on a local level, let's talk about that. Let's see what we can do to maximize, optimize the impact on those occasions. And I want to be able to do more of that and more, local organizing. And the fact that we're a collective is not. It was never intended to be like any kind of exclusionary thing. And the truth is that for Black Lives of UU to reach the fullness of its potential, it's going to require many networks and many, smaller groups of folks working together on local levels, on virtual levels to accomplish things. So. I think we just scratched the surface. So, yeah, let's keep scratching.
Awesome. Alina, what were you going to say?
I was actually just going to say that piece about connection is really important. All of the organizing I've been a part of here in Minneapolis has been about connections, about, people coming together kind of organically. I think that's a little bit the nature of this movement. But organically also has to be like it has to be a value of connecting, intentional connection too. And so that's something I'm really excited about. And then also, yeah, like locally coming together. In this discussion, I've realized, I've had my black BLM organizing spaces and then blue, but I haven't really even connected with even some of the other black folks in like Unity Church or other churches close by here. And I'm like, why is that? And I'm like, well, because they're not in blue space yet. They're not in BLM Minneapolis space. So yeah, just really wanting to, underscore that piece about connection and how to build that in intentional ways.
No, who has to stop it? For me, I think that everything you guys said is completely my vision as well. But I will say one thing that I have always championed about the movement for Black Lives is that it's leaderful, and so what that means is that whatever gifts and energy and purpose you want to bring to the movement, then you should do that. And so I hope that we bring that same energy to the work that we do as Black Lives of UU, which is if you have an idea and if you have a project or if you have something that you think would fit, speak up. I'll be talking in a second about some different ways to reach us, but we really want to empower Black UUs to center themselves, their voice, and the things they want to do, and we would basically just work to amplify and facilitate and lift up your experiences, which is what Kenny was talking about. So that's where I hope that we are moving towards, and I think that'll be great to see so many of us together in person at GA, which would be such a opportunity for us to talk about all those kinds of things and really make those connections and move forward with some purposeful work from there. So I'm going to share my screen one more time and talk a little bit about some ways you guys can get in touch with us, and then we'll do our final kind of thoughts. So as Carlton mentioned earlier, we have the Facebook page, which is Black Lives of UU, and it's a forward-facing page, so anybody can just go and like it, and you'll be able to follow all of the posts that we make, and we put any information of stuff that we're doing, we put on that page. We have a separate Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism closed group, which is an explicitly Black UU space. And so if you are a Black UU out there and you're looking to make connections, please just request to join the group and we'll add you in. It's been a really great space for us all to talk about lots of different things, personal stuff and stuff that we just would understand as Black people together. And then, of course, working through some of the things. And in fact, the track that we put together, the 4 tracks came directly from that group. We had a poll that we ran and asked people what they wanted to hear, what would interest them as Black UUs at GA. And so they were instrumental, the group was instrumental in putting together the track at GA. Obviously, you can follow us on Twitter at Black Lives UU, and you can message us there as well. And then lastly, you can email us anytime at blacklivesofuu@gmail.com. So if you have questions, specific questions, you can do that. And then we, of course, are monthly on the Church of the Larger Fellowship's VUU podcast. I'm just looking to make sure we don't have any additional questions here. There was one question that I don't have an answer to, and so which was about any differences in GA plenaries and rules or procedures. And I don't have any. At GA, they want to know if things were going to be different because they're trying to do stuff different. Do you know anything about that, Carlton?
I think what I haven't been party to any of those conversations about doing things differently. I know that there were significant hurt feelings that happened as the conversation proceeded the last day of General Assembly Sunday with regards to the action of immediate witness around support for Black Lives Matter. And I think it has a lot to do with what Lena and others were pointing to earlier with regards to our not being in relationship to one another. And I think it's safe to say, I mean, there are some folks who come to General Assembly who come from all white congregations who don't ever see or experience Black people who are empowered inside of a public space. So I think that's some of like what we're bumping into. It's just very different worlds. I sometimes let's talk about some folks living inside the bubble, and there's others of us who live outside the bubble. So I don't know if there's going to be any particular things, but I know that there is a commitment to doing things in a way that's more harmonious. I was on one conversation with Jim Key, who is the moderator for our association, and I think one of the things that we're looking to do, that when things get tense in conversations, is rather than just kind of like plowing forward, it's like maybe we'll just take a pause. Just everybody just simmer down for a moment and de-escalate, which I think might have even helped us last year when we were getting into some of those very intense conversations. But there will be occasions when folks from Black Lives of UU will be speaking to the whole plenary, and we hope to set a good tone from the very beginning.
Awesome, thank you for that. Another question was about the fundraiser. So I know, Carlton, you're working on that too, so we're hoping to have links and everything for accepting donations for people to help with funding our GA efforts, correct?
That is correct. I know that people have been chomping at the bit, wanting to figure out like where they can make those contributions, and we've had a few glitches trying to get that set up, but we hope to have that resolved within the next week or so, and please do support it. To do it differently and to do it the way that we know that it needs to be done is going to require some additional support. So please keep an eye out on the Facebook page, on Twitter, and it shall also be revealed.
Awesome, thanks. So I think that brings us, we're actually a few minutes over, but it's not a big deal. But I just wanted to go around and have everybody share kind of their final thoughts. This is the first time we've collectively spoken to everybody kind of about all the stuff that we've been doing. And I have gotten kind of a feeling people they don't know what's going on behind the curtain. So right. That was part of the impetus for us doing this town hall, to just let people in and know and see what we're doing and how we're doing it. We meet once a week, so I'll say that. Just in terms of logistical stuff, so people would know, and we have usually an agenda of stuff that's carried over from the last week and whatever's going on, and then obviously we have the ability to react to things as they occur. Like when Lena needed help in Minneapolis, it was time to get on a plane. So I will start with you, Lena, then. Final thoughts.
I guess my final thoughts are just that I'm really grateful to be a part of this organizing collective, and I hope that we can just do some good work, continue doing good work. So yeah, I don't have anything more profound than that.
That was quite profound, for sure. Kenny, how about you?
Yeah, I think as I look at not just our faces, but think about our personalities and think about the people hearing from woman in Florida, and everybody. It's just diversity of blackness and how black is strong individually and black is strong together. And that's what makes me really excited about this, that the 5 of us on this team, the 4 of us on this call, like, we're so different, and when we come together with similar, not always identical goals, but similar goals, like really powerful things are possible. So just, you know, honoring in your own congregations, in your own communities, honoring the diversity of black experiences is something that I hope folks continue to do in UU spaces and beyond.
Awesome. Carlton, how about you? Final thoughts?
I'm just thrilled to have been on this call with you all, and grateful for all that we've been able to do and accomplish up to this point. It's been an amazing ride. I'm looking forward to it continuing on. I'm looking forward to there being even more people who are involved. And what occurred to me just a moment ago is that sometimes within our association there's a tendency to have like a hot focus at the moment. And then that's hot for a while, and then we move on to like whatever the next hot thing is, or what's, you know, in the media, whether it's Occupy or immigration advocacy. And what I want to say to the 4 of you and to everyone else is that I am in it for the long haul. You know, whether the UUA, if the UUA even loses interest at point around Black Lives Matter, which could happen, and it becomes something that fades. I'm still committed to Black lives and to centering my work inside of blackness with the belief that if I do so, that's going to benefit our whole association. So thank you, and I love you.
Oh, love it. What's my last thing? I don't have any last thoughts, but Carlton made me think of a really good chant. Which is, chant down Babylon, black people are the bomb, we ready, we coming, we're ready, we're coming. So he just made me think of that, because we are the bomb, and we are ready, and we are coming. So that's right. That would be my last final thoughts for everybody to have. And thanks for joining us, and be on the lookout again. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Medium as well, which is where we publish all of our statements. Follow the Facebook group, Facebook page. If you're a Black UU, please join the Facebook group, because we really want as many people in there as possible. Honestly, I can't tell you like the amazing, nuanced, and really important conversations that we've been able to have in the group already. So the more of you that join, the better. And yeah, Carlton, you have something else to add? My fingers were crossed. Is this recorded? Yes, it'll be up on YouTube. So yeah, so it was recorded. We can share the link because it was a live YouTube video. So it'll actually be available as soon as we go off air. So again, thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye. Bye. Thank you.